Hello, everyone. Welcome to the, I don't know, which one is this? The 6th, 7, something meeting of the Black Sessions. Today we're discussing episode 3 of season 3. Yeah, this is the 7th. Oh yeah, so the 7th meeting, the 7th session. We're discussing the wildest moment. First, I would like to start asking those of you who didn't want to discuss this episode, why? Personally, I thought this episode has so many things to talk about. So why is it, Vito, you said that you didn't want to watch it. Now, have you changed your mind?
As if I would have to decide if I want to watch it for fun, I will say no. But if you want to discuss some elements of the TV show, you have some things to talk about anyway, but I don't think it's the most entertaining episode of the TV show. And now I compare it to the whole series, and I will say it's slightly below average episode because the last seasons are not so great. But up to that moment, at least I watch in the order of the episodes, and it's not necessary. You can watch however you want, right? They're not related to each other, each episode. So if you watch like I did, you will find that this is much worse than previous episodes if you watch in that order.
I think I understand what you're saying. I think I agree. I don't think it's like below or low. I think it's different. It's more, I think it's more realistic and more political, something that is not that present in other episodes of Black Mirror. So maybe that's why it's different. And it looks like one of those episodes of the last seasons. So yeah, it's different, especially to compare it to the first ones. But
that moment, I don't know the name in English, but when you say like te cae la teja, like that moment when everything, like the whole chord goes like is straightened. I don't know how to say that. Like everything is a mess until you see that moment, and then it all makes sense.
Yeah,
I feel like this episode has that element.
I agree, and I think that's what makes this episode. I checked on the internet, and there are many people discussing the same topic. What makes this episode so different, or why people feel differently about this? There are lots of people who don't like this, but I think we got many interesting topics to discuss. And let's say that this episode is from 2013. So if you think about it, it was like Donald Trump got elected in 2016, I think. So this was, as usual, a lot ahead of its time. And we can now compare it to real life, and it looks really real. So one thing I also noticed, and I think Hernan will agree here, I did not feel disgust about after this episode. How did you feel, Hernan?
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't feel disgusted at all, but I feel kind of angry at the end. I think the finale of this episode was really shitty in a way. So this final 30 seconds of a future with this homeless guy who was the original Waldo and stuff, and getting beaten by the police and stuff. So yeah, I think the whole project, the whole business goal that the original owner of the TV station had become true. And well, that was awful in a way. And I think except from the finale of this episode, the majority of the plot was, I think, maybe it tried to represent what the first episode of the whole series tried to do, to figure out and to define a scenario that could happen today. So if we cut off the final scene, I think we could have the same spirit. In a way, I could agree with Vicente. I think that it was not the most overwhelming, or I could agree with you, it wasn't as disgusting as other episodes and stuff. But I think it was kind of interesting in a way. And what's most interesting is, as you said, Alicia, that they define a real way of how politics could change. And nowadays, if we realize what is happening across the globe, we could realize that several countries have developed that kind of leaderships, that kind of propaganda and stuff. So yeah, I think it's quite challenging to write it down before everything happened, and at the same time is kind of sad and disappointing. To think that how, I don't know how to say maleable, but how easy it is to convince the mass, you know? So yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the
manageable or manipulable could be, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are easy to manipulate. How easy it is to manipulate masses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel the same way. I did not feel disgusted because it's so accurate. I think that maybe this is like not shocking, not at all. There is nothing from this episode that makes you think, wow, I cannot imagine that happening, except from the end, of course. The ending is the futuristic vision of what could happen in the future if this becomes true. But for us, this is reality. For us, this could be happening right now on TV and it would be very normal. So Felipe, what about you? What are your main ideas and reflections from the episode before we get into the discussion?
Yes, firstly, the first time I watched this episode, I didn't really like it. It was very different from the other episodes, and I found it more boring. But then I saw it the last week, and then I really liked it because I could easily link this to what we are living as a society, not only in Chile, but in every country of the world. And I think that it has mainly to do with how we relate with social media and politics. And I mean, in the episode, Waldo didn't really represent anything. He represented only the feeling of anger or maybe political fed up that people are people feel unrelated to politicians, and that feeling can be very easily channeled through social media. I mean, for example, when you compare it to Trump, the Trump campaign was make America great again, but from what? I mean, he wasn't saying anything.
What is great?
Yeah, what is great? What is worse? What is worse now? I mean, they represent just a feeling that via social media is very easily channeled. So that was the main idea that I was getting from the episode. Or just you combine political disattachment to social media, and then you have these presidents that are elected like Trump or Bolsonaro.
Yes, or Boris, what's his name? Boris
Johnson.
Boris Johnson. Yes, the British. So yeah, and not maybe sometimes Piñera, sometimes like I can see like I think that maybe this could be the case of us, and I was saying many presidents or politicians in general, not only president. These are senators.
Well, Alicia, there is a theory, which is led by political analysts from the left wing, which is why I think it's so interesting. That is stating that Pamela Giles could be a new Trump, but a left wing Trump, because of all the statements that she has been doing the last few weeks and the last few months. So it's kind of interesting to watch it that way.
I agree with that idea. And I could even say that sometimes, and my friends always hate me because I say this, but I will say it anyway. I think that Howard could be a little bit of it too, not because he doesn't have any ideas, but because now at this moment, selling ideas is not the business, it's selling feelings. So every time I hear him talking, he's selling feelings. And I think that the left wing, the left wing has been relying on the feeling for such a long time without making any changes or proposing new ideas. Actually, they keep the ideas they say they don't like and keep manifesting discomfort, but makes no change.
Yeah, maybe I must say, sadly, politics are changing in every aspect and turning around to that way. Or maybe just in Chile, I'm not sure, but I mean, well, how in a way could be kind of a new Waldo or Trump in their style of stating stuff, but I think he's not as much as Pamela Giles is in a way. No. So in the right wing, we have maybe Cast or maybe others, but in the left wing, what Pamela Giles is doing is quite worrying in terms of what she's trying to state to lure people. You know, today she was front page in El Mostrador because she said, I want to go to I don't know if primaries is the same word in English.
Primary school.
Okay, so I want to go to compete in the primaries with all the left-wing candidates. And they don't want it because they know I will annihilate them. So
and what do you think? That she would annihilate them?
Maybe, but you cannot say that as a presidential candidate. What's gonna be if she rules, you know?
Yeah.
She's going to diminish and insult every other opponent that she could have, or maybe if she don't get a bill passed, she will destroy every congresswoman and congressman. What's going to happen? You cannot have a leader like that, but that kind of statement is luring people. It's attracting different and several kind of groups of
voters.
I don't know. Not only the political class is worried. I think it's a real factor that could change the perspective of how can we rule our government. So yeah, I'm kind of worried. I'm really worried with that phenomenon. If she change or if it's just in the propaganda, it could be different, but I don't think it's going to be that way.
I agree. Vito, you were saying?
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when I was in my university, in another big university in Chile, you know those student lists who, I don't know how to say it, like central alumna?
Student center.
Committee or student center.
Yeah, one of those elections in UD Chile, I guess, had one like prank list with all the stupid ideas, and they won. They won the election, and then they
retrocedamos. Yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't take it because they had no ideas and they had no one to actually do the things they say they're going to do.
And
so
they won
it reminds me of this.
Yeah, it's showing you. And it is not just those are everyday cases, situations like the university, Pamela Giles, but Trump did the same. And like no proposals, no effective change. Only discomfort, like you were saying, make America great again, what's great, what's it, or those students, the horrible thing about Vicente's stories was that these people, the voters here, were people in the university, educated people in the biggest university in the country. So what can we expect from the general people, like the people that doesn't have university studies? What can we expect from them if the people who are educated still don't know or don't care? Because I think it's just don't care. In the case of their students, they're showing they don't care.
It's like they are showing like there is no difference in which one gets elected. So I might rather elect the one who's more fun or which make me laugh.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like that saying, you still have to go to work every morning. Yes, of course you will. But life is different depending on who's ruling. So that is something I think we've lost as a society, that in these politicians, for me now, left wing and right wing are pretty much in the same box. So these politicians from both sides are taking advantage of this. Basically, they have been taking advantage of I heard in a podcast today that democracy died in Greece. Like it died as soon as it was born. From the moment we decided to make a democratic system where everybody could choose, Jorge Pinto's coming, where everybody can choose or make the decisions, then immediately we gave the power to make the wise decisions to the elite. And they have been making the decisions, not that wise anymore, decisions ever since. So we got the power. One thing is, this is where we're getting into the politics here. But one thing is to have a democracy, and another thing is to have a representative state or government. So I think here this is one of the discussions they're presenting here, if we have democracy or a representative government. So anybody here who thinks that we in fact live in a democracy? No? No support, no democracy support is here. Anyone who would like to share a reason why we don't live in a democracy? We have to give ideas, not just feelings. We were saying. So why? Why don't we live in a democracy?
I think we do live in a democracy, but it's biased by so many factors in so many levels. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting what this Netflix documentary declared. I don't know the name in English of this documentary, but how Cambridge Analytica kind of mediate election decision vote when Trump got elected 5 years ago. The great hack.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, and what I found sadly most interesting was one of the ending scenes when they showed how many countries they have been working with. And they showed some candidates with whom they work. So yeah, it's really shocking in a way. And the strategy for Trump was to empower young people not to vote, so they cannot lose the momentum that they were having, just empowering Democrat young people not to vote because they didn't feel represented by that. So in a way, it was a mathematical kind of strategy, and a very implicit strategy. So yeah, I think democracy exists in our country, in several countries, not in every country. But even when in our globalized world, I think there are so many factors that could mediate or maybe bias our democracies. But well, I think there will always be. So I think we are in a loophole, you know?
This is the feeling we get after every episode of Black Mirror. That we're in a loophole.
Yeah, I think
there's nothing we can do about it. Why discussing these matters makes no change. Yeah, just to increase frustration. So, Jorge, I'm putting you into the discussion right away. Felipe, what are your thoughts on our democracy or representative government?
I mean, I agree with Hernan. We do have a democracy because everyone can vote and choose whoever they want. Anyone can be a candidate if they are supported enough. And I think, as Hernan says, that informed decision is relevant to choose someone in this democracy. I mean, if, for example, they're using marketing strategies to get votes, that's really not in the same philosophy as democracy, because you're searching for votes. You're not searching for people's support, you're searching for votes only. So whatever thing you propose or say can be taken as more votes. And I think that many people just make their decision in this democracy. I mean, maybe half the country votes. Always, it's 50%.
Yes, in the best case.
Yes, in the best case. And that's not very democratic, but is there choice to not vote? So that is part of democracy. But I think that when the reasons you vote are the wrong reasons, that is a problem of democracy. I think that politics is much more linked to marketing rather than making good policies. And if you add what Hernan said, that you have an algorithm that search for people feed in their social media, and they're trying to get you to vote to someone, that's even worse than the normal marketing campaign that there was maybe a few years ago only on TVs. Now we have internet, and now we have algorithms that try to make your decision more left or more right. And in the Great Hat documentary, there is a graph where the polarization of people votes is the greatest that has ever been. And that is because
fake news.
Yes, fake news, or for example, I like, for example, Bachelet, and the algorithm identified me and sent me a news that Bachelet was maybe a corrupt president. So my vote will tend to be to the right side. And I think that's not a democracy when you're you're free to choose.
Population. You are misleading population. Yeah. You are manipulating them or manipulating information.
Yes, and people still feel that they're free to choose whatever they want, but people forget about these marketing strategies really do work. When you see an ad of Coca-Cola like 1,000 times, maybe you will be more inclined to buy Coca-Cola instead of Pepsi. And that is the same with politics today.
That's been an issue in advertisement since the very beginning. So like since they started making advertisement, they decided that it was necessary to give the message and repeat the message and repeat the message till you convinced. Like this what's the name? Mensajes encubiertos. I don't remember what's the word, but it's like this subliminal. That's the word. Subliminal message. What is saying there? I'm not looking at the chat. So yeah, so it's like the subliminal message that works. And this is not subliminal anymore. They are, you guys are talking on the chat and I get distracted. So yeah, so this subliminal message is not that subliminal anymore. It's more direct, like fake news. For example, I was telling, I think I told you the other day about the Black Lives Matter movement. When the Black Lives Matter movement came out, the algorithm starts showing show everyone in the, or a lot of people in the US, that this was an issue during Clinton's government, during Obama's government, during Trump's government. It's been an issue with every ruler, so it makes no difference whether if it's Trump, who is against, let's say, Black people, or Obama, who's a Black person. Makes no difference because they don't care. So what happened?
It was Hillary, so it was easier.
Yeah, it was Hillary. It was focused on Hillary. It was focused on Hillary, yeah. But they were showing you after all that none of them care. So what happened in the elections? The black community voting percentage was like a lot lower than previous elections because they feel they don't care. And I think that's the reason why, for example, Piñera got easily elected in last election, because we all thought that he will not be elected or just don't care, it makes no difference. Let's see. I heard
he got a huge percentage of voting in the second round, so I think it's not the same phenomenon, but I agree with the main
what's
argument.
The difference between what was Guillet and Piñera? And I think like maybe even us, we know that it's not big difference, but it is a little bit different, and we can take the chance to make the change. If we have Piñera, it's more difficult probably to make the changes we want to make to someday maybe have someone there who actually represents us. So yeah, this has to do with representativity too. So let's include Jorge first before we move the discussion into another area. Jorge, 2 questions, 2 things. How do you feel with the episode? We discussed that. And the second, if you think that we have an active or effective democracy, or how do you see this democracy going? Representative democracy.
Thank you, guys, for your opinions. I think about opinion of Felipe and Hernan. First, before your questions, I think we have democracy, but the problem is our people is not so have the information, but the principle, they don't have, or we don't have education. It's different because it's always the information could be modified and I don't know, but always we have powers, factics powers, trying to go against the popular decision. But I think the important is the education of the people. After that, about the chapter, I think is absolutely similar with our democracy, because you guys say everything about the consequences of the fake news, all the things. I think it's probably in the future we have a Waldo, and maybe we have a Waldo with Trump or Bolsonaro or the president of Filipinas, maybe the same thing, but I don't know. I think about your second question, if we have active democracy or passive democracy, I don't know the words exactly, but I think we have democracy, and I think shouldn't put other words in. Oh no, I don't know. We shouldn't change or say that we don't have democracy, because it's more easy to make idea or forces to destroy this no democracy. I think we should to increase our democracy, but is absolutely is imperfect. We have problems, but this democracy, and the problem is the education. Know the information. And this is my idea.
So I have many things to say about this. I don't want to be polemic. I think Vito will be polemic for me. But I would like to say that I don't think that having a right to vote means that we have a democracy. And I think actually the fact that we don't have fair education does not allow, the fact that we don't have well distributed, I don't know what is equal, it's not equal, I forgot the concept, but we don't have access to the same access to education, everyone in our country, and that's what's making our democracy, I think, unreliable, or at least ineffective, at least. So Vito, what do you think? You wanted to say that you do not agree with the point of democracy. I would like to hear that.
Yes, it's not that I believe that we are under a dictatorship, but it is like the system is pretty different from what it used to be in old Greece. Like that's the main point of what you said earlier. Like, is this a democracy, or is it like, how was the name? Is like democratic, is representative?
Representative government or representative.
Right. Yeah, because what I remember is that in old Greece and those places, like every person who was allowed to have a vote will vote for every decision made in the city or in their empire. I don't know how big it is. Yeah, but right now what we do is we choose a person once, and they have it's like they have our weight above them, like for 4 years. Like they can decide whatever our vote is because we elected them once, right? Even if we don't agree in the future with all their I don't know, their ideas, we have to give up our option of choosing because we already elected them once. And that is pretty dangerous, because I don't know if what you do will be like constant in the 4 years, or if you're like, I will still like you 4 years from now and I will still think the same way you do, or you will still think the same way I do in 4 years from now. So that's the main difference in my point of view.
That's what I wanted to say too. Yeah, right away. I think I agree in the fact that we only vote in certain occasions. We don't vote in the process. We don't get involved in the democratic process that we should be involved in our own communities' democratic processes, in our national democratic processes. So we only choose or elect our representatives. And the other problem, the second problem, is that we do not have people who actually represent most people. And maybe that's what causing this democracy to kind of fail. So Hernan, what do you think? You want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add another idea. Well, I agree with you both, Alicia and Vicente. I think there are some factors that tend to lose the real spirit of democracy in every way. Nevertheless, I still think that they are not the only solutions and we're still in a loophole. I mean, for instance, if we solve the access to education, if we solve the quality of the education given to every student in every little place in our country, I still think that Felipe has a real point. Nowadays, we have marketing and advertising as a strategy to manipulate or to convince people more than the real ideas, the real policies that the real changes that we could have in a society. So I think that how the system works is the real problem. And I'm not just talking about our system, our capitalist system, because I mean, even in other kind of systems like in Cuba or North Korea or in European societies, they all have marketing and advertising as a main strategy to convince people. So I think that how the propaganda is the main objective, even more than share real ideas and discuss who could improve our society in a much better way, depending on how the people really thinks. We're still gonna have that problem, you know. So I think I thoroughly think that even if we improve our education, the access to it, and the quality of it, we're still gonna be convinced by propagandas, you know. So even if you have all the well, I don't know how to say no se volvió hasta en español. Well, don't worry.
Mi español no es muy bueno.
Yeah, no, me no hablar mucho bueno, but I will try to do so. Well, but even if we do have all the guarantees in this process, and we have a great education, greater opportunities, and an equitable system, and even if we overcome those gaps, we're still gonna be convinced by several kind of stuff. So maybe, as you said at the beginning, democracy does not exist, or maybe it does exist, but as I propose, it is going to be mediated depending on the factors that we're still trying to do. Maybe we could change law in a way so we can discuss ideas more than just a catchphrase or just an image or just a fake news, you know. But I think it's really tricky and it's way more complex than we really think or we even know.
I completely agree with you. It's funny because we've been talking and discussing Goebbels and Hitler's propaganda and how could people bought that and all that, and we still live in the same place. It's even worse now because propaganda used to be like you had to be exposed to propaganda. Now, if you turn on your phone, you have propaganda. If you turn on TV, you have propaganda. Propaganda is everywhere. Even if you don't want to see it, you can be walking on the street and all of a sudden you see a screen in your face. So it's like Waldo. It's like he's on the screen. So I think that's very interesting at the beginning when he's trying to break the screen, because Waldo only lives on the screen. It's like this idea. It's not an idea. This like monster that lives in our brains. And it's nothing physical. It's no person, no idea, no representation of anything, just a screen, just a projection of something. It sounds like Barney, yes. Well, it's like Barney, but evil. If Barney is not evil, I don't know if Barney is evil, but I think it's like evil Barney. But I think that it's I don't think that is a mira. That's a good one. So yeah, I don't think the propaganda is the problem. I think the problem is that we are not making decisions in like everyday decisions in our everyday life and politics, and we're not integrating politics in our everyday life. So we always see this as a propaganda from we don't fear propaganda because we feel that politics is a different world. It's not our world. Go ahead, Felipe.
I think that there's a problem, a point against democracy in our system. I think that propaganda is very very important when it comes to politics. Yes, if you think about political parties, they have the greater amount of budget to propaganda. I mean, for example, how many independent constitutional candidates have I known? For example, I know there are lots of constitutional candidates, but they're all independent. So I really don't have the time to to read or to learn about every single one of them. But for example, if one of them is supported by a political party, he's being interviewed in the radio, he's being shown in the television, or maybe in my feed in Facebook. So I think that that's a point against democracy, because statistically, you will have more chance to vote to someone that has more, that is shown more, that has more appearances in our screens.
And you know, someone that you know.
Yes. Yeah. And I know there's a feeling against political parties, like in the Waldo episode, but the conservative is still won because he he still had the greater budget, the greater support of a political party. So he won by a lot of votes. But I think that propaganda, as you were saying, it's very important in our political system, our current political system.
In politics in general. Even if you, for example, I was thinking that when I used to live in other cities, but I always voted here in Crítico. So I was always advised by my parents, like they were more aware of what's going on about each candidate, but I always relied on their parties because of the propaganda, because like I think, I don't know this man, his specific proposal, but he belongs to a group that should represent my values. So I go for him. And the values that we share, I know we share them because of propaganda. So I don't think that propaganda is the problem. And the problem is that we just like rely on that and do not take actions in the other political stuff related to the political action, political life. Not even political life, like none of us, I have never seen a baby or a kid saying that he wants to be a senator or that he wants to work in the Congress. Why not? It should be a dream. I think maybe I was probably one of the few kids who dreamed about that, but I was probably manipulated by my dad's propaganda. So I think that's one issue, that the problem is, I think that we can agree there. The problem is not the message, but the problem could be like disconnection from political world, and the misrepresentation of our representatives. So what about Waldo? What about the character? Let's forget about the political implications of the manipulations. What about him? Do you think that did it remind you of someone, you know, or any character, you know? Maybe a little bit like, do we have a Waldo on TV now? No? Yerko Buchento, maybe, I was thinking. I think it's the only one, yeah? Yerko, right? Yes, I think Yerko in Chile could be him and no one else. So yeah, do you laugh? Do you laugh when you see Yerko Buchento on TV?
I don't.
You don't at all? Never? Yeah, you don't think it's funny? Hernan, Felipe, Jorge, do you laugh? You don't laugh at all. Yerko Buchento and los guasos, los guasos quincheros con el patito. Yeah. I kind of, like, I've got to be honest, I've laughed with Yerko a few times. Jorge, you don't laugh. No one laughs. No one laughs with Yerko Buchento. Good. So, would you Do you laugh? Do you feel like laughing, or do you think it's funny when we make fun of politicians? Felipe, for example, or Jorge. You haven't talked that much. Jorge, do you like when comedians make fun of politicians?
Yes, of course. But I think it's the vieja confiable or a repeated joke. And I think it's so easy attack to politics because today is the most easy joke, but it's more difficult make a jokes about our society or our ¿cómo se dice? Our problems, because always I think maybe it's more reflexive. Always we see problems in others, or it's more easy attack to politics, to the mother-in-law, to the migrants, but it's complicated to see our problems in family, and I think it's cool. We make jokes with our problems because, for example, I remember the chiste, and it's funny, the jokes about Luli or epidemia con aro, but this joke is repeated.
¿Cómo was epidemia con aro?
¿No se acuerdan de epidemia con aro? El Sebastián Dávalo. And this joke is repeated.
Or with Cecilia. How is the name of?
La Monga. With Cecilia Pérez. La Monga. That was funny. I laughed.
It's
or the Berlin with Calama and stuff.
Yeah, with the ugly city. There's nothing beautiful in Calama.
This joke is funny, absolutely. But I don't know. But I think for this, Yerko, it's finished because
he's not finished. He's back to life. He's going to be in Mentiras Verdaderas every Wednesday nowadays.
But they're trying to make a revival, but it's slow.
I hope he changes at least. Maybe he will change his scope or approach.
Yes, maybe. For example, the joke of Monga today is not the same thing if you make this joke a year, 2 years, this year or the last year, because it's a joke against the woman.
And it's against physical appearance, and that is banned, cancelled.
Funade.
Yeah. So, but Kramer, Vito was commenting Kramer. Kramer is different. I think probably we all like him. I think he's very talented, at least. But my question I wanted to go here. So we laughed with Kramer, especially when he's representing Piñera, performing, or like he's not performing, but he's acting like Piñera. He's very funny. But do you think, or don't you think that we are allowing our politicians to be clowns by making fun of them and accepting they're clowns, and they're like, we laugh because we know he's a clown? But shouldn't we be taking this seriously as like, oh, whoa, we should stop laughing and make a change about this? But we just laughed. And still, like, we don't take this seriously. They should be showing us a reality that we need to change. Go ahead, Felipe.
I couldn't unmute myself. Yes, I think that I have a good example where our last president before Piñera, Michelle, was very recognized in the foreign countries. She even got awards from many environmental, the United Nations.
Yeah.
But here in Chile, we only make jokes about her. We we practically, I'm talking about social media comments and that kind of stuff. We practically hate her or don't want anything from her, but we don't take, as you said, politicians seriously. We don't study what they were doing in our country, the good policies, maybe what could be done better, but we only have strong negative feelings about our politicians.
I
We
agree.
only,
Yeah, sorry.
yes,
I thought you were finished. Sorry. Continue.
yes, we only tend to support now the one that's going the opposite direction from all the non-politicians, but that doesn't make a lot of sense also. I mean, you want something new, but you want something worse or better. They don't really think about politics or policies.
I agree. I think Bachelet is a great example. I am like, that's why when you mention her, I feel we have talked about this with Jorge, like Bachelet, careful with Bachelet. I feel really represented, or I think I feel proud, at least a little bit of like, yeah, that one I liked. At some points, of course, there were parts of her governments that, of course, ugly, but I think that she did a good job, because I try to take away any personal opinions and I just analyze the facts, and I can count several facts that I think are good. But every time I mention that I respect her, everybody's like, oh God, how come? Blah, blah. It's like, why? She's like the least bad of all of us that we had. Yeah.
And then if you ask them, they say whatever negative comment they read.
The sun.
Yeah, the sun or the previous government, or she destroyed Chile, and
it's
like, not really a conversation about politics.
La gorda, that's the worst.
That's
El Toñón, La gorda. So I think in the first Bachelet's government really showed how misogynist this country was. All the jokes I've never heard, for example, like Lago Narigón, Aja, Piñera, nothing, or Lavín, Miljan, not even Miljan. Huh?
Brazos cortos.
But now, that's now. Not in the...
No, Kramer in their first performance joke about it, and he was the first to joke about Piñera.
But that was after like 2009, and Bachelet got elected in 2006. So before Bachelet, nobody attacked the politician when it came to physical appearance, because it made no sense. Doesn't have anything to do. Why would you care? But when it came to her, it started. And from now on, we started laughing about all of our politicians when it comes to physical appearance. But why do we care if they have long arms, they're fat, they're skinny? And why are we discussing their... I haven't heard about Elton John. Yeah, now you do. Now you hear the joke. I laughed the first time I heard it too. Gotta be honest. But yeah. So I think that this complete rejection, but for politicians and politics in general, has led us to this exact point where we don't have representation, where we buy any promise they make. For example, Piñera promised that he will end unemployment. And a lot of people bought that. And I hear now, for example, the current candidate, Jadwe, I've heard him proposing free education, free health, free. And of course I want that. But how are we going to make it? Can you please tell me the hows? But when he's asked how, he has no answers, because it's the same, once more, just a message, not the message that we all share. But still, we all share the message, but Waldo, everybody shared Waldo's message, but he still lost the election. So at the end, the ones who win here are them. They keep winning. The I don't remember what's the name of the party, of the right party.
Conservatives.
The conservative.
Yeah, but yeah, conservative. So yeah, the laborist, the girl was the laborist and he was the conservative. The conservative won. same thing that happens all the time. So guys, before we finish, because we're almost in time, but what about the future? The future they're showing us here. Why and how do you think it was possible for Waldo to go international? To become, or what do you think of this company that proposes the idea of taking, how fucked up are we? Yes, that's basically what it wants us to discuss. How fucked up are we? How far or close from that ending, futuristic ending, we are? Hernan, what do you think we are?
Can I pass?
Yeah. Do you think that we still have a way out, or do you think it's
well,
well, okay, you
I
go.
think we have several paths to solve the situation, but I think it won't happen in a really long time. I think the system, well, I'm not sure, but sometimes I change my mind. But I think that sometimes the system will be destroyed before it really change gradually. That's what really scared me most. And that's what I really thought when we were our uh, in our social crisis in October 19. So yeah, I thought about it a lot, and I think I concluded that the only way to change the system is, yeah, well, no, I think it's really sad and dark and sorrow, but I cannot see a clear solution to this, considering our politicians, considering our system works, considering how important profits are for so many wealthy people, considering all the inequities that we have across our system, and what's really happening in terms of our rural and provincial inequities, and how important is Santiago to our country. Yeah, I cannot see a clear path to solve the situation gradually.
Me neither.
Yeah, I'm really worried about this. And it may be your fault because you made us read.
My fault? Personally?
Yeah. Maybe that's why I cannot see a clear path to solve the situation.
Yeah, my pessimism
made us read before a Brave New World, and then you are ordering us to watch Black Mirror. So
yeah,
next,
I'm an idiot of people.
Next stop is death.
Suicide. I'm going to make a sect with you, and then we're going to kill ourselves together.
Yeah, of course.
In the act of democracy.
In little pieces, so you can throw it in the river, in different rivers.
I will eat you, and then I kill myself.
Yeah, why not?
Because that'll be my final.
Then you can incinerate yourself.
Yes.
And spray the ashes across a path in the middle of a school, and
I am
the children.
Antichrist now. So yeah, I'm sorry about this. I just wanted to make a good discussion, but yeah, you're right. Brave New World took away the hope. Now Black Mirror is just the previous step to suicide. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm always the pessimistic in my group, and I remained pessimistic after each episode of Black Mirror. In October, when the rise began, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, it's happening. We're breaking, like we're finally acting, taking power, and we're gonna change the system.
Yeah, it was great. But when you see no response from the authorities, you really got worried with this whole situation, you know?
And then was like, are we gonna like destroy everything? Are we losing control here?
And they aren't doing anything. What the fuck is going on? Yeah,
but no one is doing anything. Not only politicians, no one. people who wanted to be part, people who wanted to have the political power, or said that wanted the political power, is not getting involved in politics anyway. So it's like, we tried, but like, yeah, no, it's summer, we gotta go on vacation. So that was, I almost had hope, and then I lost it again, and I think I totally lost it.
Yeah, that was so disappointing.
Yes, it's every day. Felipe, and you wanted to talk, or you wanted to say something? No, I was going to ask the same. You think
about our about our social crisis? I was really really with the causes
with the cause, yeah,
with the cause, and I was in a few what do you say, marcha?
Strikes. Strikes.
I was in a few strikes before it went too violent. But then I thought, this is a good response of the people. It's a logical response of the people.
I feel anger.
In other way, then I was thinking, we don't really have a government that works in Chile. If this has to happen to make changes in our policies, we don't have a country that works for the people.
We don't have a state that works.
We don't have a state, so that makes me sad, because yeah, I understand that this was wrong, and people was fed up, and they had to stood up to their needs, to their beliefs, and this was a logical response in my opinion. But then I was sad for Chile in the way that we don't really have a working political system. We don't have a country that works. I mean, if we want to destroy everything,
burn everything,
we don't feel Chileans. We just want better life conditions, but we don't believe in our system that we have. We don't. It's maybe anarchy.
Yeah, I think that's like, after what I hear, I think that's the only looks like that's what people want, anarchy. But I don't think that what people want. Of course, like, we want a society, we want a state, we want, or most people at least want. Yeah.
Felipe, what do you think about this whole situation? What situation should it be to solve this?
A working political system where people enter their needs, and the political system throw out policies. But that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Maybe
I have something regarding that.
Maybe it's the chambers that we don't have, the political chambers, where the Senate and the Congress people, the congressmen and women, vote, but they're not voting representing the Chilean needs. Chilean needs are very clear: education, health, maybe other things like.
But is that all? Is that all? It's just satisfying the needs? Politics is a lot more than that. Not only that, we have to satisfy the need of the people, but we also have to run and manage the country. So I think it's okay that we leave the power into those who should be capable or experts on the field, like let's say we have expert senators and congresses to deal with specific matters, from which, like, how can we ask people who's the best team to gain this licitation of this hospital? Like, I have no idea what makes a good team to build a hospital, but I know that I need a hospital. So
yes.
But Alicia, that's a quite different perspective. and I don't agree with that personally. And I think it's really discussable, but I do think our politicians should be necessarily experts. Specifically, if we talk about our Congress, I think we should have the most representative people, and they should have, and they must have
the team.
Yeah, a great team of experts that could ensure that their work will be done as good as they can. So yeah. I prefer to have a Congress made of people in every single organization in our country, in every single race, group of age, gender, etc. A diverse Congress, but a diverse Congress with expert advisors, so we could have a representative decision when we make law.
I
when we write every one of them. So
I totally agree with that, with the expert team. Like, not necessarily the politician. He's an expert. He's an expert in politics. But
I think that's what's most important in democracy: representation.
Yeah, so Bicho was saying that if you want, and this is something I found really interesting. Before we finish, I wanted to go to Bicho. So he's saying that if you want representative, it should be randomly chosen. Ooh, what do you mean by that? What are your thoughts?
I mean that the only way that you can choose people, it's not choosing because it's randomly, but the only way you can pick people from the population and make it representative of all people is that you have a big sample, or bigger than we have now, and you choose them randomly from all the citizens, even if they want or not, like similar to what they do in United States for the legal system. They choose randomly people, and they say, yeah, they tell them, okay, you have to participate here. We are going to tell your boss that you cannot go to the office for the next 2 weeks, and you're going to go and be a jury and debate with other people about what the expert says about the case. So it's similar to what you said about having experts in the discussion, but not being them the only ones who choose which option is the best.
I agree. And I heard a TED Talk the other day that that's why I think I can connect this to your comment and Felipe's comment. That was on this TED Talk, they was talking how to make democracy more representative and how we are losing our democracy. And it's a very short TED Talk. I can send you the link later. And this guy is talking about algorithms. It's like pretty accurate to the discussion. And he was saying that he mentions different cases of different countries in which they have developed local apps. For example, in Curico, we have this app, cell phone app that we all have, and we vote or give our opinions or feedback on governmental policies. For example, they did it with Uber in Tokyo, I think it was, or I don't know, Korea, something Asian. It was the people proposed how to regulate Uber and how to regulate the taxes. And it worked, and they applied, they considered the opinions, they applied the rules, everybody was satisfied, both taxis, Uber accepted, it worked. But we all have cell phones, so everybody would do it, but we still need education. Like, we still need people who cares about this decision. So we still need education in the process, but we could make it more participative, if that's the word, or that could translate into representation if we conjugate with the system. So yeah, go with your point.
I was going to say that when we move from democracy to representative government, one of the reasons, I guess, was because it was not practical to make everyone go to vote like for every decision. But now it's way easier for people to be connected and to vote like you could honestly vote, like you said, for every decision. If it's just an app where you have to pick yes or no or something like that, the only problem will be like logistic problems, like how can you ensure that you're the person who's voting and you're not like using someone else's phone, or someone who's not using their phone is getting votes or something like that, which happens in some democracies, especially when they can vote through their
electronic votes.
Yeah, electronic votes.
Yeah, but it happens even in our country. We don't have electronic votes, and still you have people who vote for other people. So maybe that's something that's going to happen. We could use technologies, maybe the finger or the face recognition. But at least it would give us the chance to have more involved people, society. So I cannot read the chat because I cannot listen to you and think and connect everyone while reading to the chat, but I think there is an interesting discussion going on in there. I always get lost in the chat because if I read, I lose the conversation and I cannot do that. So guys, I don't know if one of you has anything else to add to the discussion. I think it's been an interesting discussion as usual. I'm very proud of my people. And I'm really sorry that Jorge Yancafil couldn't come today because he would have been against all of our ideas. I think this is a comment.
Of course he will.
Of course he would. He would.
In every single level.
He would go for anarchy right away.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thanks for being here once more. And I'll see you next. Now I know how to make the links, so we won't need Katy again. So I'll see you on Thursday, next Thursday, for the Christmas special. I've never seen this episode, and I've heard that it's terrible. Really? Terrible.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I just watched it a few months ago.
I think it was like the most terrible episode, like terrible in the way that makes you suffer. So I guess you will be very disgusted, Hernan. I'm very happy by that after this episode.
Yeah, but so you are happy disgusting me. Oh, that's great to know. That's great to know.
Okay. I'll see you guys next Thursday for that discussion. Yeah. Yes, it's not accurate. Yeah.
Well, Vicente, you're gonna like this episode. If you didn't like Waldo's moment, you're gonna like this.
You're talking to me that I will like it?
No, I'm talking to Vicente. No, what I said to you is I'm realizing that you feel happy disgusting me.
No. I feel happy. I think that when it disgusts you and me, because I feel disgust too, it means that we're gonna have a good discussion, even if we are not discussed.
That we are enjoying Black Mirror. Yeah, I agree with that.
That is working. We feel that it's working. It's causing you what he wanted to cause you. So good for Charlie Booker. He's done it once more, and he'll keep doing it. So yeah, thank you guys. It was a pleasure. See you next Thursday, and have a great night and great weekend. Take care. Be good. Thank you. Bye. Bye.